Welcome, everybody. Bringing the heat, and we are on a special baseball edition. I am joined by Brandon this time instead of Joe. Brandon, I'm excited to have you on the show, and we got some.
Excited to be on, Steve.
Yeah, we are very, very passionate about baseball and specifically the Phillies. And quite frankly, I'm fucking pissed. And we're just gonna jump into it. That's my hot take right now. I thought the Phillies were gonna be way better. And with the what's been 2 weeks, I am so
No.
fucking aggravated.
Well, I mean, especially after last night, considering, bringing in Matt Moore as the four guy, and, the whole entire time, once they brought him in, they're like bringing up about how he was once a bigger prospect than Mike Trout, and he was so highly touted. And I'm like, in 3 starts, the guy's got a 9 ERA. So obviously, but it has been
Yeah,
a high start, but a very Phillies type of last week and a half. So.
yeah. I mean, today is the 18th, so they were playing yesterday on the 17th, and it's literally been less than 3 weeks into the season, and both Chase Anderson and Matt Moore are just, how do I say, not major league material. And I swear to God, I've heard this so many times this year already, but it's like when they introduce Matt Moore, they're like, oh, he spent a year in Japan. That doesn't give
Yeah,
me any confidence. I'm more frustrated. I'm like, yeah, he hasn't fucking pitched. Like, and
it's
then
like,
it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
thanks for
like
letting us
yesterday, he
know that
imploded.
yeah, thanks for letting us know nobody wanted the guy for, the last few seasons. And we just so happenly, we're the team that decided to take that shot, and it's just backfiring bad right now.
Yeah, and it's just like we're like it's frustrating because you got guys like them too, and then you got like Vince Velasquez, and you're just like, okay, this is not good. We like I don't understand why we can't just get a decent like fourth or fifth starter.
Well, not only that, like, giving Vince Velasquez the chance out of the bullpen has been a mess too, because he comes in, he gives you his, 1 to 2 innings of like pretty electric pitching, and then he turns into Vince Velasquez. Like, he just the dude couldn't find the strike zone when he walked like four straight the other night, and like, it was just, it's like embarrassing to watch. I don't even know how Vince Velasquez is still on the team, especially seeing Nick Pivetta in Boston doing what he's doing up there. It's just like, it's like a shot in the foot seeing stuff like that, because it's like, we kept the crappier of the two crappy pitchers, and Nick Pivetta is now playing pretty decent.
Yeah, and that's
Over
the thing
Boston.
with like last year we had both of them, and or at least in like 2019 we got a good sample size of both pitchers, and I didn't think either one was good, but I have seen more from Nick Pivetta than I have Vince Velasquez. Like in
Yeah,
Nick Pivetta, like when he's on, like his curveball is ridiculous.
not only that, when Nick Pivetta is like off, he's like way less damaging as Vince
Yeah,
Velasquez is when
exactly.
he's off. When Vince Velasquez is off, he is like atrocious.
And he's
Like, it's
off
hard to watch.
99% of the time that he's pitching. So it's like, okay, so yeah, like you said, he'll give you maybe a good inning, but like you cannot give him more than three batters
Yeah,
because
I know. Well,
like
once he gets you out of that stellar inning, you get the confidence to want to go him again for the next inning, and then he comes in the next inning, and it's just like seeing Vince Velasquez as we always see. He just blows it up.
yeah, it's insane, honestly. And I mean, so right now I think what they're 7-7. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah,
I mean, I was looking at the division too, and it's like, at least the division, as good as it's supposed to be, is off to a pretty crap start too. Like,
yeah,
the fact that
exactly.
the Mets and Miami are the top two above us. I mean,
Yeah.
Miami's tied with us technically 7-7, but the fact that Washington's 5-7, Atlanta 6-9, it makes me feel, at least a little comfortable for the Phillies. But the division the way it is, it's the type of division you got to take off and run with it, like, or else you try to compete where everybody's at all year long. It's going to be like just a battle until the end. So I mean, if a team can, like the Phillies at least, hopefully take a hot streak and take over the division, that would be nice. But at least the division's kind of up in shambles for the time being. So
Yeah, and I think that's probably the highlight. I would agree with you on that one because it's coming into this season, even on like MLB Network, everybody was talking about like what would be like the most competitive division in baseball. And I really do believe it's the NL East. I mean,
yeah,
when
I
you
agree.
compare the teams, like Washington winning the World Series in 2019, the Braves have been pretty much a lock for division winners.
Yeah,
The Mets, Marlins, and Phillies are all not great, but for whatever reason, they actually have a decent roster where like you could honestly see them making playoffs. Like,
I
so
think the
you're
Mets will
saying
compete. I think the
potentially every
Mets are
team in the
very good.
division makes a run for like a division spot or a wild card
Yeah.
spot, and I think that's crazy. But like you said, yeah, they're off to a slow start this year, and I think it's gonna be an issue because yeah, you want to get the ball rolling and just because you can just take off, but
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, you
you
look at the,
know,
every other division in the NL too. Like you see the Central, like, Cincinnati's 9-5, and they're, clearly starting to pick up. And then you look at, the West, obviously the Dodgers own the West. I mean, 13-2 is absurd, but at least the East being what it is, it's competable at the moment. Like, 7-7 is not the worst start. Obviously, in their last 10 being 3-7 is not what you want, but hopefully at least they can kind of pick that up and take the ball from there. But after obviously besides the top three guys, it's like it's hard to kind of get confident in the 4 and 5 starters. Like Chase Anderson hasn't been nearly as bad as Matt Moore, but
I agree.
Chase Anderson as a five guy, is what it is. But they definitely, I think, if they want to compete, they got to get a bona fide like rotation back end guy.
Yeah, I agree, and I think a guy like Connor Brogdon has kind of shown out and kind of been a reliable bullpen guy, which I like. Um,
Yeah.
and like today, they're finishing up the series against the Cardinals, and Nola's pitching, so it should be a good outing. But again, when you're really just putting the pressure on your 3-man rotation, and like, hey, you all have to be like perfect because like even if the offense is like giving you 4 or 5 runs, you're still gonna struggle because you're just not a complete team, and like they need to something needs to change.
Yeah, I mean, and the bullpen obviously is way better this season than last. I think like I read a stat off of Twitter saying like, basically at this point last year the bullpen had given up like 31 earned runs, and this year it's like 13 or something like that. And I was
Yeah,
like, dude, like it's just like Phillies bullpen 13 games in 2020. It's like 38 in the third innings with 41 earned runs and a 9.63 ERA with a 362 batting average against, which I was like, dude, like that you're throwing batting practice. This year it's like, it's 39 in a third, 18 earned runs with a 4.12 ERA and a 2.03 batting average. I'm like, it's night and day compared to what it was last year.
yeah. Honestly, even in a COVID shortened season, I have never seen such incompetence from any side of a sport. Like I've never watched a game and just sat there and like was astonished at how many leads. Like if we blew only like half of the fucking leads that they blew, we would have made the playoffs. Like we were a decent team, and they were like
Dude,
bullpen consisting of like Brandon Workman, Heath Hembry, Vince Velasquez, a little bit of Hector Neris, and like guys like that. You're just like, what the
well,
hell?
dude, it's like every time like Workman would come in, or like Velasquez. Still, it's like every time one of them would come in, as soon as you saw the name, you were just like, dude, please, like, just get us through an inning at least. And then it would be like home run, home run. Like it felt like last year it was just like the same story every game with the bullpen. It was just they come in, they let up batting practice worth of innings, and then like at the end of the game, it's just like nothing gets done about it. Like, JJ Romero was kind of a bright spot last year, but like this year he looks pretty bad. So
Yeah, it was
it's,
shaky.
like because on like a Phillies Facebook page, I remember reading it was like in his last two appearances, Romero's let up like 5 runs on like 5 hits or something like that. And like his
Jesus.
ERA is like a 22 and just the two, total innings pitched. So I'm like, I like JJ Romero, especially being like a lefty. Like it's hard to get like
Yeah.
a good lefty out of the bullpen. So I was hoping he would be that guy, just because like I love him as who he is, like the crushing the Red Bull can and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
no,
like,
he's dope. I just love seeing him like coming out of the bullpen. You just see the hair, and you're just like, okay,
like
this.
a guy with character like that. That's not just like a stiff out of the bullpen. Like a guy that comes out like jacked up, ready to go. Like that
He's
shit's
just
awesome to
he's just ready to play, and that's what I want to see. I want to I want more personality.
well, that with the skill to back it up, because even
Exactly.
with the new bullpen pitching, light years better than last year, I still think it's like it's shaky when they come out. Like I still get that kind of on the edge of my seat feeling. And I love Hector Neris. I think, for
I
like the
think he's
last
improved.
Yeah, for the last few years, I love Hector Neris. I think like him being like a splitter ball like closer is awesome. One, but like I just love like his emotion and stuff like that when he gets all fired up, amped up and stuff. You know, and I think he can hold his own, but he's very he's like a one-third inconsistent player. I heard that phrase before, which means like a third of the time he's gonna struggle, but there's other there's two times he comes out. It's just like he gets like electric and he'll pitch great. So it's if he gets confidence and gets hot, I'm okay with him being in the closing role. I mean, Archie Bradley obviously is there if needed, but I don't think they need a closer at the current moment. I think they need more of like a long reliever, and they need a stable lefty out of the bullpen.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're talking about. I mean, you said like personality and with the talent to back it up, and I immediately thought of Jared Hughes running out of the fucking bullpen, just
And
taking
JT just
off,
shaking his head.
running through center field, straight at the mound. You're like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah, like I said, he needs the skill to back it up, and
That's the problem. Yeah, that dude was giving up home runs every other time he was coming out. It's like, yo, bro, run your ass back to the bullpen and
yeah, like just
yeah,
run back and turn right back around.
yeah, run the fuck out, grab your stuff, and leave. So, we talked about the pitching a little bit, and I wanted to shift it to the center fielder dilemma.
So I actually I have a let me pull it up. Basically, I have a little rant about this. So if the Phillies want to compete this year, I think they 1,000% the first move they need to make is to get a legit center fielder because you have Roman Quinn right now. Now Adam Hazley to me is like the most below average Joe player you can possibly get. Like he'll come in, he's not going to hit you 280, he's not going to hit you 25 home runs, and his fielding is below average. So he's young and he can learn a little bit, but he's not exciting. He's not doing anything for me. Roman Quinn, you have a guy, you have a center fielder in the major leagues batting .43 right now. .43. Last two seasons batting 213, and the career average for him is 225. He is not a major league hitter. This guy doesn't even have 100 hits in the major leagues in 5 seasons. He is not a major league hitter. He should not be up. It's like the Roman Quinn argument I could understand is like, okay, he's got speed and he can be a decent fielder. His fielding is like atrocious this year. Like him and Hazley have looked like they get an easy pop fly and they're running to the warning track and then sprinting back. Like it's like little league kind of things. Like he's atrocious in the field. He's atrocious at the plate. Like a .43 average. If you can't even hit 200, you should not be up there. Like our pitchers are hitting better than Roman Quinn right now. His hitting sucks. His fielding sucks, and his speed. If this was 2005, his speed would like fire me up, and I'd see why he's useful. But if you're going to use him straight for speed, keep him on the bench, like as a pinch runner, and that's about it. A guy that can bunt in situations, and he can't even do that half the time, but a guy that can bunt and get on the bases for you, that's it. He is absolutely atrocious. Adam Hazley is probably, if he's gone for the year, he's gone for the year. I have no idea why he stepped out. I don't think anybody has said why. It's just personal reasons.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I saw that too. I wasn't really sure like what it was alluding to though.
So like I saw things that said like maybe he's either having a family problem, and then I saw things saying that he's having confidence issues. Where I'm like, either way, it does nothing. The guy sucks. But I hope everything is good for him, but he sucks. And then it's like you look at Mickey Moniak, and I can't even get excited about that. But it's like everybody seems to be excited because it's like something different in center field. Mickey Moniak being the first pick of the draft, like
I think it was 2016.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be like the guy could barely hit minor league pitching. So like if he was down there, raking, hitting, 25, 30 home runs and batting 280 plus, I'd be like, dude, it's about time. Like, finally, we got a good center fielder. But this team has not had a good center fielder since Shane Victorino. Like, Andrew McCutchen playing it, it was okay. But, McCutchen in left field, he's another story because he sucks this year too. But it's like, I can't even get excited for Mickey Moniak because I'm like, well, what am I going to get excited for? A guy that's going to hit 230 now? Like, if he comes up and does great, that's awesome. But like the center field position is such a weak spot, and it's like you can't even, you can't call Odubel up because at least Odubel, when he's hot, the dude plays like an all-star. Like he can
Yeah.
get hot, but when he's cold, he's like, he's atrocious to watch too. But with the PR situation with the Phillies, I doubt they'll even call him up just because it's like, the guy has had so many issues with his, the domestic violence thing that I doubt they would call him up just due to the fact that they would get negative PR for it. So the center field position is so just bad at the moment. It's tough to watch, and it's not like left field's any better. Andrew McCutcheon has been playing pretty bad this year as well. So, and it's like you don't have many options behind him. Matt Joyce, but I like Joyce off the bench. I like Brad Miller, who is for some reason not getting any starts. I like him off the bench too, but
Yeah, I think there's a lot to revisit there in terms of like what other options do we have? And like you said, like Mickey Moniak. Look, I was kind of excited a couple years ago because I was like, okay, he might be the future, but that's the problem with MLB drafts and like all the building up for like prospects is that like you have to go through years of just like playing in the minors to even be considered to call up. So now, like, I don't feel like he's that much more talented.
well, it shouldn't even be that way with the number one pick to me. Like with the
Yeah,
number one
exactly.
pick, you should never draft a guy that's like raw prospect. You should always be drafting a guy that's like ready to go, is going to be, a bona fide starter right off the bat. Like Alec Boehm is like, the diamond in the rough they caught in the
Exactly.
draft to me. Like, that's a guy that's like he needed a couple of years of grooming, and now he looks like a good major league hitter. Like the guy with runners in scoring position, I think was it since he got called up, he's batting like 400 with runners in scoring position. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's
what you
crazy.
want out of a guy you draft. Like that's what you look for. You don't look for a guy like Mickey Moniak who's batting like 220 and double A ball. It's like I almost don't know what they like what they saw. I wish I could maybe I can bring up that draft class because I kind of would like to see if anybody has been called up that has like kind of made an impact since then because it's just like it's like a kick to the nuts to see that stuff.
No, yeah, I think that's valid. Just because, like, and like you said about Odubel, honestly, like if you're telling me my options are Adam Hazley, Roman Quinn, Moniak, or Odubel, I'll have Odubel play. Like,
That's
if he's
yeah,
the
I
everyday
agree.
player, I'll take it.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
It's
Especially, I mean,
absurd.
like, you know, yeah, it was the 2016 draft that he was picked. But I mean, and then you look at the farm system, and it's harder to even feel even more comfortable looking at that because I was taking a look, the fact that one, the Phillies, kind of aside from the center field spot, the Phillies only have two top 100 prospects in all of baseball, and the two prospects is Spencer Howard and how do you say his last name? Mick Abel. So it's
Oh
like we
yeah, I
have
think so.
two right-handed pitchers
Yeah,
on the top 100, not even top 25 either of them. But when it comes to outfield, our best outfielders are our number 8 prospect in our system. For some reason, we have 3 shortstops in the top 8 of our prospect systems. Like these are for some reason all we keep picking up. But the best outfielder is Johan Rojas. Like that's it. That's it. That's all we got. He's 20 years old. He's not nowhere near to being ready. He looks like a decent player, but it honestly to me it looks like that when I looked at his scouting grades, is like another Roman Quinn almost. Like he's like a 50 hitting, a 50 power, a 60
hmm
run, a 55 arm, a 50 overall, and a 55 field. So it's like his best attribute is running. I'm like I get
yeah,
at center field, you're not going to get much pop, like much pop out of that. But he's written in as an outfielder, so he could go anywhere in the outfield. But like, just frustrating.
and that's been my main defense of Roman Quinn was the fact that like yeah, this guy's like he's probably the fastest guy in baseball, but number one, if he's gonna make so many fielding blunders and like so many obvious mistakes where it's just like you can't catch a pop fly, you're
Yeah.
overrunning a ball, like you're all the way at the track, and you're just like, okay, you literally don't understand how to play the outfield position. So like, just stay on the bench. You'll be a pinch runner. if you're up there at the plate, you're just gonna bunt every time. Even if they expect it, it doesn't matter. You're fast enough, you'll probably beat most of the bunts. But
Pretty
like
much.
Jesus Christ.
Well, and it's like not only that. I mean, I guess we have Scott Kingery too. We could always look for, but he has turned out to be such a like a
He's
hot
another
and
one.
cold
Another like
hitter
huge
that's
prospect that was like talked about and then he came up and you're like, this guy is not good.
yeah, like he'll get in phases where he'll go like 2 months hitting like 280, 290, just killing the ball, and then he'll just bat 220 nonstop like after that. And it's just like if you could find like a happy in between, I would take a 270 hitter all day long that could just stay at 270 and hit me, even if it's low power, 10, 15 home runs from center field. Like if you hit me 270 and hit like that and just give me a decent average, defensive playing in center field, I'd be happy. Like, especially on a team that's, had so many good center fielders in the last like decade or two. It's like, you have like Aaron Rowan, then you had Shane Victorino for so long. And then it's
Javi
like,
Abreu.
yeah, it's like, it's so hard to just look at now. I mean, Bryce Harper obviously is Bryce Harper in right field. He's not going anywhere. And, I don't have any complaints about Bryce Harper, especially to start this season. But, looking at the center field position and then, you have Andrew McCutchen in left, which Andrew McCutchen obviously is on his decline in his career. But,
Yeah.
you can't really expect much, but he's not even hitting 200. So it's like, it's hard to get fired up over it. I mean, even as a Philly, McCutcheon, I think, is batting like, 255 as a Philly total. It's okay, but it's
Yeah, I
like,
think he plays the role that they need him to play. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's
you
just
know,
like he's a stable guy. I can work with, a 250 hitter in left field that's, he's defensively not a liability, as not as close as the center field position, but I mean, they just need stability in center field. I think that's the number one thing they need if they really are serious about taking the division. But
yeah, I mean, and next year they like there has been a bunch of rumors saying that like they could always pick up George Springer, and I think that would be a terrific like improvement.
100%,
And
100%.
like you just add so much more depth to your team, and it's just like and I'm tired of like the Philly teams like the management like thoughts. Like it's so frustrating because it feels like through all the four major sports, each front office is like they're just messing around with how incompetent they can be, and you're
Pretty
just like,
much.
and it legit feels like we're all being pranked because it's like there's no way you're actually like making those bad decisions, and it's true. It's like
Well, it's like it always feels like they kind of just hit on the spots that they don't need. Like I'm glad they worked on the bullpen and stuff like that, but like I don't know. It always just feels like their focus is so far off of what is blatantly obvious, and then they're kind of
yeah,
trying to be the smartest guy in the room and like do all these things that they're just not needed. Like, you know, the bench being what it is for the Phillies right now, I think there's not what is it like, Joyce is a lefty, Miller's a lefty, like they have no righties off the bench.
Andrew Knapp.
Yeah, they got absolutely no righties off the bench to look forward to. The lefties out of the bullpen, like you need good left-handed pitchers out of the bullpen because I mean Jojo Romero, he's just been so inconsistent, especially the start this year. Like I just feel like in order for them to make a real push, center field, a back rotation pitcher, because Matt Moore just needs to go back to Japan. And
This is true.
I mean, just another solid bullpen guy. Because Archie Bradley is like, it was kind of like the deep breath, the sigh of relief, like when we got
Yeah,
him, and now he's injured already. So it's like, it's just like it seems like a Philly thing where it's like every time we get something good, we kind of just get crushed. But
yeah, it's frustrating because it's like all those years from like 2012, 2013 to 2000 like 18, 19. Like those were really tough years just because you just saw how bad a team could actually be.
yeah,
And like I just remember like those summer days, just like I'll turn on the Phillies game in like 2014, and then you have a guy like Aaron Harang pitching, and you're like, what the
yeah.
fuck is this? And you're just like, and it's like the game's
You
over in
just
like the
you had to
third
go through
inning.
names like Jonathan Pettibone and
Speaking of Pettibone,
Jimmy Hellickson.
I was playing MLB and I was batting and a relief pitcher came in, Josh Lindblom.
Oh Jesus!
I was like, wait, this dude fucking plays? And I like clicked on his player card and I had to like read about his stuff. I'm like, I thought this dude retired.
These were like the dark days of a Philly fan, like the Pettibone days.
Michael Schwimmer, Michael
Yeah, my
Stitz. Oh, Jesus Christ.
it's like you could just
Oh,
go off of names of like, the worst Philly in my opinion in the last century, Michael Martinez. It's like
oh yeah, easily.
the names that come up from like when they were so bad. And the worst part is like we suffered for what, like, about 10 years of bad Phillies baseball. And it's like you look at our prospect farm, we have, like I said, two guys in the top 100 prospects, and it's Spencer Howard and, Mick Abel. Like, it's like for the last 10 years, it's like this suffering. It's like, yeah, we got Bryce Harper out of it. We got JT Realmuto out of it. We got, Aaron Nola is at least out of it. It's like, we got a couple like good spots out of it, but like I feel like for the suffering we did for the last 10 years of Phillies baseball, of how bad it is, like the John Mayberry Jr., the Don Brown day, like it's like I feel like we just should have came out with you know a young bona fide stud. Like we don't have a Ronald Acuna, we don't have a Juan Soto. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, exactly.
we don't have that 20-year-old that's coming out. We had to buy our players. So it's like we had Sixto, but we had to get rid of him in order to bring JT in. But it's like you bring guys like JT and Bryce Harper in, and it looks like they still are struggling to figure out how they're going to compete. So it's just like at that point, yeah, why not just keep Sixto? Like why not I don't know. And I love JT Realmuto. I think he's since he became a Philly, he's been amazing. But it's just like it's tough to watch. Like these guys go through every season playing at the level they are, but the team just seems to, for some reason, suck the life out of every year.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part. Is that right now, JT, I think is 30 or entering his age 30 season, and Bryce is going to be 30, I think, next year or the year after. So you're like, when you compare that, they're already 30 years old.
Yeah,
And a
so
guy
you have
like,
a small window. It's like you don't have much room
exactly,
to work
you
with.
maybe, this is a strong maybe, you maybe have 3 to 4 good years left. I mean, like, realistically,
Yeah.
like, unless they're an outlier
I mean,
and, you
especially
fade
for
out.
a catcher, like a catcher doesn't, his knees are going to break down. It's not like
Yeah.
they're going to get any better. Bryce Harper's got back problems all the time now. So it's like, if they're going to make that run and they want to be a serious contender, like, this team is like fiending for for playoffs. Like
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the playoffs are like with the Phillies at this
Me
point.
either.
Like somebody's like, yeah, Philly baseball, deep into October, playoff baseball. And I just think of Roy Halladay and I'm like, was it that bad? Like that bad long ago?
I was like, oh, yeah. When
Like
I was
it's
like,
like
oh,
no
yeah.
hitter, Carlos Ruiz, you know what I mean? Ryan Howard. And then it's like, I think in between it, it's just like a gray area. I'm like, yeah, John Mayberry hit that walk-off grand slam that one time that had nothing to do with the playoffs. Phillies were like 20 games for 500. And I'm like,
And
like,
that's the problem. It's like, yeah, you say like Phillies and playoffs, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when I was outside because I was fucking 11 years old, and there
yeah, I
was
remember
like,
when I had the Vance Worley jersey, you know what I mean? And
yeah, yeah,
they were
Vance
making
Worley.
that
That's another
push.
guy that was just like
The
he's
Vanimal, you know what I
he's
mean?
in
Bring him
yeah
out the
he's just
bullpen.
in the archive of Phillies pitching. You're just like, yeah, he
Dude,
was on
one
our
day we got to
team.
make a list of just like the worst, like maybe like the top 15 worst of the last 10, 15 years. Cause there's just so many like, like what the hell? Like I remember the Jeremy Hellickson thing. Like
Yeah,
that was like the only jersey I saw around here. Like people were, and I'm like, I almost stopped watching the Phillies for like a couple seasons because of how bad they were. Like I just couldn't, I could my
yeah,
like
no,
my
it's
blood pressure
frustrating.
couldn't do it. So I'm like, I'm walking around. I'm like, are these people all wearing Jeremy Hellickson jerseys right now? Like, isn't he? I thought he was always out of the bullpen. I never thought he was a starter. So I'm like, it's that bad at this point. Like that man, like Papelbon was our all star for like 2 years straight. That's it. Like, it's just gotten so bad the past like 10 years that it's like hearing Reese Hoskins on like WIP a couple weeks ago saying like it's time, and like Reese Hoskins seems to be the only guy that feels like it is time because he's the only
Yeah,
guy showing
exactly.
up. Like,
And
at this point, like it's time, like 100%.
yeah, I think you're getting to that point where we just want to win. We just want to experience some playoffs and just be a part of it.
Give me
And
a
it's just
wild
like
card, like give me anything, like.
it's so frustrating because you're just like it's truly baffling. Like,
And what scares me is I don't know what's going to happen in the playoffs because, like, Aaron Nola has shown when he gets late into the year, he's not great.
mhm.
The team itself is just, Bryce Harper's had some experience, but like, how many guys really have had playoff experience on this team? Like, Didi maybe with the Yankees, if that, like, Andrew McCutchen can bring kind of like a role for that, but like how many of these guys have really, Hector Neris has never, I don't think so at least, never, had to close the game in a playoff atmosphere. Like this bullpen, most of these guys, JJ Romero probably doesn't even know what the hell a playoff game is. Like it's like when we get into the playoffs, like we're saying, that 3 to 4 year window, it's like, I only hope they can compete when they do, because I don't want to see them get into the wild card and then get smoked like 8-2 or something, like a typical Phillies loss anymore.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, I think it's just painful, and because again, we like what we can recall from the Phillies playoff days, it ended on losing 1-0 to the Cardinals and Ryan Howard blowing out his Achilles, and that
Yeah, it
was
was like
just like
the heartbreaker.
that was literally one of the worst moments in Philadelphia history. Not even Philadelphia sports, Philadelphia history. It's
You want
just
to
like
talk about
he's
underappreciated players too, man. Ryan Howard.
yeah, like and you mentioned before Papelbon. I loved Papelbon. I thought like
Oh,
them
me
getting
too.
Papelbon was like I was
Yeah,
like, what
yeah.
the fuck?
It's like a mark out moment almost, because it's like, wow, we
Yeah.
have like an electric, legit
I was
closer,
like,
but
wow,
it's
we have
like,
a real baseball player. Holy
yeah,
shit.
like there's finally a name. I don't have to keep customizing my own jersey when I go to these games when I buy them. Like I can finally buy a real guy's jersey.
Yeah, fact, dude. It's just like like all these new guys coming up, they didn't even give them a number. They just said you barely even get your name on there.
And Papelbon tore it up here. Like he's the best closer in Phillies history, technically. So it's
Yeah, he
like
leads the franchise in saves.
he
That's why everybody
saved.
hates him. And
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I get it. I get it. His personality wasn't great. I get it.
That should tell
But
you a lot about him too. Like the fact that he was here for so little and he became that much of a
yeah.
like an
He,
impact on this team.
yeah,
Like
and he was dominant. He had his own fiery personality. He wanted to win. And it wasn't just like, let's sit around and get 61 wins. No, you fucking
yeah.
idiots. Like actually win the game. Like
And I love guys that are like hotheads like him that want to compete. That's why I love Neris. Like when Hector Neris is on and he's getting amped up when he's throwing his
when he
splitters
hits his
and
glove,
getting the
it's
shot,
just
dude.
like
That stuff gets me fired up. I'm like, dude, fucking like just like that stuff makes me so ready for playoff baseball. Like it's just, and seeing like seeing the stadium starting to fill up with crowds and stuff, and hearing the crowds get into them, it's like it's made it so much fun to watch this year.
yeah, so I think in baseball I've always thought was strangely different than like the other major sports, especially like football and basketball where the drafts are so anticipated because the people who get drafted immediately go to the sport. Whereas baseball, they get drafted and they spend like 4 to 5 years minimum in the
In the
minors, and
farm,
you're just
yeah.
like, so by the time baseball players actually come up to the bigs, they're usually like 25 at that point. You're just like, okay, and that's like the best like
And
that's
that,
the
yeah,
best player.
and that's in their prime too. As soon as they
Yeah,
come up, is like there's no like, usually you don't see any kind of bring them up to the majors, especially high end prospects. There's usually not a whole lot of bring them up to the majors, let them kind of figure himself out, and then work him. It's usually like that was the problem with the Phillies with like Ryan Howard and Chase Utley. They brought them up too late, and they got
mhm.
like right into their prime as soon as they were up, and then just as quick as they brought them up, as fast as they were out, pretty much. They had like 7 years of good baseball in them.
Yeah. I think it's kind of bizarre because like there's people in the NFL and NBA that are literally younger than us, and
Yeah.
there's like baseball players who I mean, I understand that the level of talent is different, right? Like I'm not like gonna be naive and be like, oh yeah, everybody can play in the majors, but like I don't understand. I don't think the gap of talent is that much larger from like
From
minor
level
league
jump.
ball to major league. You know?
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's like you look at football and it's like, teams are in the third round and they're, third round picks are so valuable because you still get a starter a lot of times out of it. So it's like, you see a team get a third round pick and they're like, this guy still can be a pro bowler and stuff. And then you go to baseball and it's like, 90% of the first round picks, it's like the raw prospects that you're getting told like in, 3 to 4 years, there'll be an impact and maybe one or two of these guys will be, right into the league. And, even then they got to figure it out. And it's like, every so often you get a guy like, Juan Soto, Mike Trout, Bryce Hart, a guy that can come in when he's, 19, 20 and right off the bat
Hmm.
be electrifying. Like the difference in the sports like that, to me, is like mind blowing. It's the same pretty much with hockey. I mean, hockey, you're getting a guy in the seventh round who a lot of times becomes an all star, and it's like, he comes in right away. And then when you look at basketball, they only have 2 rounds of draft picks, so it's like basketball, you're pretty much like you pick a guy in the first round who you can build into a starter, and then you never see him in the G League. And then the second round, it's like, these are usually kind of like the 50-50 shot. Maybe you get a good guy, maybe you get a bust. But with baseball, it's just like, I feel like there's just so many levels to it that it's so long before you see a guy. Like you go from college or high school to single A, to double A, to triple A, then you get to them. It's almost like a ladder that's like so long that it's hard. I even forget a lot of the prospects they draft. Like remember
Yeah, me
Cornelius
too.
Randolph? Like
Yeah.
when I drafted him, I was like, dude, like I think he was like a first round pick. So I was like, dude, this guy's gonna be okay. I haven't heard about. I don't even know if he's alive. Like I haven't heard anything about Cornelius Randolph. Like I'm gonna actually look him up and see.
Yeah, I think he's either in double A or triple A. I forget. But it's like that's the problem. Is like you hear like that's why like the MLB draft is literally one of the most useless things in baseball, just because you're just like,
Yeah,
yeah, there's not much to look forward to.
yeah. He was the 10th pick in the 2015 draft. So he was before Mickey Moniak. And like right now, I mean, it's funny. It says pre 2016, he was the number 88 best prospect, but we took him number 10. And right now he was playing for Double A last season. This season it says his level is FGN. I don't even know what that means.
I think Titans. I think.
I get the league is Australian Baseball League. He's
Is it
playing for
really?
the Australian Baseball League.
Why the fuck is he there? I thought
For
he was.
Double A, maybe they cut him. For Double A last year, he hit 247, and before that, he was hitting 241. Yeah, I have no comment. He's hitting 210 in the Australian League right now, so I'm not even sure if he's. It says Phillies to send Cornelius Randolph and 8 other prospects to Australia.
Yeah, so they drafted him in 2015.
So maybe they have something in Australia for kind of like just trying to. I don't know how that works. I don't know if there's an Australian league that kind of works with the minors.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, honestly. That's fucking weird.
So one thing I wanted to get your take on besides that though, like moving on because fuck Cornelius Randolph, but it's
Fucking
the
tool.
dumbest name I've ever heard. Like
Yeah, seriously. If you're not a baseball
Cornelius
player,
Randolph.
you look like you designed refrigerators.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Like, all right, pal, get back behind the desk at AT&T. But so one thing I wanted to get your take on, I've always been a big Rhys Hoskins hater. And I used to get into arguments with people when he came into the league and was so hot, hitting home runs left and right. I'm like, it's the next Don Brown. I'm like, that does nothing for me. What do you feel about Rhys Hoskins? Because right now he's kind of making me eat my comments. Because I mean, the guy's got 15 hits right now. He's got 5 RBIs. He's tied, I think, in the league with 7 doubles. I mean, he's killing it right now. But what is your take on him? Do you think how do you feel he is going to pan out this year? And then as well as like, do you think they're going to keep him at first base? Because I remember they've been talking a lot about moving Bohm over to first base and then Rhys, if there's a DH, into that spot or the outfield. So
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like when he first came up, I think it was like 2017 or 2018. He came up in like September or like August and
yeah,
like tore it up and hit like the 18 home runs in a month or some shit like that. It was
mm-hmm.
crazy. And it was like, yeah, I loved it. I was like, wow, okay, it was like him and Dylan Cousins were like the Bash Bros. And now Dylan Cousins, I'm pretty sure he plays for like the Mariners. And it's
I think
like
he does too. I think you're right, actually.
that's another guy where you're just like, okay, you heard so much about him, and when he came up to the majors, he was awful. But for Reese Hoskins, I feel like he developed into a real baseball player. And I mean, yeah, he did strike out a lot, and I think it was 2019. But if he can just kind of like level off his swing a little bit, I don't mind if he hits lower average, but because I think he's more of a power hitting first baseman. Like he's not.
Yeah.
It's like on base percentage, it'll be okay, but
He walks a lot. I mean, that'll work into that. So I'm not worried about the average. I mean, another thing that worries me about it too is like him and Boone both have 18 strikeouts already this year. So it's like I feel like this year he's a lot more like instead of being that big iron, iron
Mhm.
eye Reese Hoskins that would walk a lot last year to get on base. I think he's trying to swing a lot more now. I feel like Joe Girardi's trying to incorporate that because you can see they're not taking a lot of pitches like they were last year. They're swinging first pitch a lot and stuff, especially Reese. But I'm more worried about like, I'm okay if Reese turns out to hit like a Pat Burrell
Yeah,
hitter kind
exactly.
of. Give me 25, 30 home run. I would hope for more, but, give me 25, 30 home runs every season with a 250 average and a good on base percentage because he walks a lot. That's okay with me.
I think he has full capability to hit. I mean, honestly, if he's gonna try to be an elite hitter, I could see him hitting over 30, 35. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got the power. Like I think he's got the physical talent. I think it's just more about like plate discipline and you know, he's just you can't just try to hit a home run though every other pitch. I mean, look at Joey Gallo. Like, yeah, the
Yeah.
dude can rake, but he
That's all he
strikes
does.
out more than anybody
Yeah.
in baseball. It's just like it can't be strikeout or home run. That can't be your approach. Like
Well, I
that's
think Reese is showing a lot of versatility like that this season, being that he has 7 doubles and like he just seems like he's not swinging for the fences as much as he was. Last year it kind of felt like if he's not walking, he's hitting a home run. Like he's just trying to
mhm.
find his perfect pitch, and now I feel like he's just kind of finding a pitch that works for him rather than looking for the perfect one. And he's doing great things with it. Obviously, I just saw that Roman Quinn also has 10 strikeouts. So to go along with his 50 average, he's got 10 strikeouts to start the year. He's playing unbelievably well.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you look at a guy like Roman Quinn, are you really trying? Are Phillies front office really trying to convince us
Like,
that
yeah, bring me Cornelius Randolph from Australia over Roman Quinn
is
at
there
this
really
point.
nobody better? Because I would guarantee the fucking hot dog vendor in section
I find
150
it
plays
so
better
hard to
center field.
believe. Yeah, I find it so hard to believe there's not one free agent right now in the market that could bat over 50. I find it very hard to believe.
Yeah, I would literally pick up anybody on the free agent market and say, "Here, you're gonna start center field tomorrow." Why? Because well, you're probably better than Roman Quinn.
Because you
So
can hit a baseball, that's why. We need that on this team in
yeah,
center
you know how to
field.
hold a
So
bat. Yeah, do you see the ball when you're in the outfield? When you know how to catch it. Yeah, all right, bet you're in. Roman Quinn, get on the bench.
like I'm looking up. So this was updated on March 12th, which was last month. I don't know if these guys have gotten signed yet. Like Cespedes, I don't know
Yeah,
if he got picked up. He's on he's out there. Um, Matt Kemp. Like at this point, give me like one of these old guys that's gonna hit me 230, 240, but have pop and play defensively okay. Like
yeah.
that's all
Like
I want.
I'll literally take both of those guys in a heartbeat over Roman Quinn. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
100%. That's what
easily.
I'm saying. And it's like,
It's
you know,
absurd.
even pitching wise, like they have decent pitchers that are still out there. I think Jeff Samardzija was still okay, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. You get a couple decent games out of him, but Anibal Sanchez, I don't think he is still a
Mhm.
free agent, right?
Yeah, no, I think I don't know if he's still at the Nationals or not. He might be.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but it's like at this point though, like I feel like in such a short span, I've seen enough of what I need to see. Like I don't think Roman Quinn's getting hot coming out of batting under 50. Like
No,
I don't see him getting hot enough to go up to all of a sudden he's a 250 hitter, 275 hitter, and
and
he
he was
figured
one of
it
those
out.
he was one of those guys that like he was talked about as like one of the minor league studs and like oh this guy's the future and
Uh,
just yet another guy who wasn't as good as they projected him to be and it's like
Dude,
ah
I
of
remember
course.
watching the YouTube video of him hitting that inside the park home run in the minors, and I
Mhm.
thought he was the fastest guy I've ever seen in my life when he ran around the bay. Like, because the big thing on there was like Roman Quinn hits the inside the park home run, and it's done in this many seconds. I'm like, no way. And I watch it, I'm like, this guy is gonna be a stud when he gets up here. This is awesome. He's gonna steal bases. He's gonna go crazy. He's gonna have decent contact, just enough to get on base. And it's like it pains me to watch like these games now where it seems like every routine kind of grounder to the infield is like a fight to get the guy out at first. Like I've seen like 5 games already this year where a routine ground ball to the infield
Mhm.
and the guy was safe at first because he's hauling ass out of the box. And it's like Roman Quinn should be able to put the ball in play anywhere and have a chance to be safe. And it's like even when he's on the bases, it's so hard to watch. Like when he got thrown out at third the other night for
Dude
that
that
like
was
over slide, I'm like, you have one skill set and you managed to screw that up still. So it's
I
like,
was literally sitting here watching it on my computer, and he slid over and he like got up, and I was like, they were like, "Oh, he's out," and I was
dude.
just like, I literally just like, he fucking pushed him off the bag, and I like
Well, yeah,
screamed.
when I watched it, because I wasn't watching at the moment, and then like I heard about it, like I got the update on my phone for the
Yeah,
video, and I watched the video. I'm like, first off, it doesn't even look like that was allowed to be a thing. Like it looked like the guy sat on him almost, like pulled him off. So like,
yeah. Roman
if you
Quinn
can wrestle
slid. The
somebody
guy
off the
just
base
stood
at this
up
point,
and leaned back, and Roman just fell off. I'm like, but then I was like, I was frustrated. And then they showed the replay, and it looked like Roman thought the ball went over. So instead of just staying on the bag until you see the ball is away, he takes off. Like, bro, you're
yeah,
gonna make it the fucking home plate. Just give it a second so you can actually make sure the ball is there.
yeah, as if he's too slow to make it if he realizes a second too late. Like the guy's got no baseball IQ. He sucks in the field. He's terrible at the plate, and he makes terrible running mistakes.
And
It's
I think
like,
they said that Dusty Watson was like holding them, and he was telling them to stay. And it's like,
of course.
Jesus Christ! I don't even know if you're Joe Girardi. Like, how do you talk to somebody like that when you're just like,
Well, how do you keep starting somebody like that? Like at
true,
this point, give me Brad Miller in center field every night. Like at least you can
yeah,
expect to see some good hitting
dude,
out of
I
Brad
would
Miller.
take so much Bamboo Brad over Roman
Like
Quinn.
where
Like,
is Brad Miller? Why are we not seeing him starting more? Like I get you need a bench option, but I feel a lot more comfortable seeing Roman Quinn coming off the bench to pinch hit one time a game rather than him have three to four at bats where it's just like I'm like this is a disgrace. Like this is
yeah, seriously,
like
like Roman Quinn, if you're not gonna bunt the ball, you're certainly not gonna get a hit. So, like, let's
it's just
just either bunt the ball or yeah, hopefully Joe Girardi doesn't like start you because you're not good.
well the management has to see that center field is such an issue right now because it's like I'm reading things like it's like since April 6th, the Phillies starting center fielders have combined to go 0 for 27. 0 for 27. It's been 11 days since the Phillies starting center fielder has gotten a base hit.
It's ridiculous.
11 days. Like
And
that should not be
yeah,
happening. Like
it's so bad. It's just like okay, so like
it
yeah, if
says
they're
something fun, right? The last game that featured an RBI by a Philly center fielder also featured a blown save by Brandon Workman.
Jesus Christ.
Like it's just like it's such a non-productive spot on this team that they have to see what's going on right now. I don't see how they can feel like Mickey Moniak's going to save this. I mean, it's not like Mickey Moniak was hitting 350 down in the minors and they're finally bringing him up. Like Mickey Moniak seems like a last kind of option before they have to really do something here.
Yeah, I understand that like Joe Girardi just sets the lineup, so you're really relying on the front office to actually make a move because it's at this point
Yeah,
like Dave Dombrowski has to see this. It was like the bullpen last year. It's like so obviously bad that you can't just go the whole season and rocking with this team and
not at
thinking
all.
like yeah, you're good. Like they'll figure it out. Like
Like when you talk about that window, like they're running out of time to
yeah,
do something with it. So it's
before
like
they enter another 7 years of fucking disparity, and
I can't take that.
I will
I
go
just don't have it in
bananas.
me. I
Like
just don't have it in me.
I don't either. I like I barely had it in me when I was a kid. Now I'm an adult, and now I'm more angry about this team than I've ever been. And it's like I
Well, the
just
tough
wanted to be
part is for
better.
me and you is like we grew up on Ryan Howard, Chase Utley, like we grew up on
Yeah,
like the gold era, like coming into it, and it's like ever since then we've just seen nothing but disappointment. So it's just like pain, you know what I mean?
it's like more obvious. You're like, wow, this team is actually one of the worst teams ever. And it's
Like I
like, all
took it
right,
for granted almost. Like I just, and so when we were talking about Vince Velasquez and Nick Pivetta, kind of like the comparison where it's like, we kept the trash of the two trash. So when I bring up their stats, like and compare them side by side, so it's like last year Vince Velasquez, he had 9 games pitched. He went 1-1 with a 5.56 ERA. So last year Nick Pivetta in Boston had 2 games played, 2-0 with a 1.80 ERA. Now this season Vince Velasquez he's got 4 innings pitched and he's got a 9 ERA. He's given up 4 runs. Nick Pivetta has had 14 innings pitched. He's given up 6 runs and has a 3.68 ERA for Boston. So it's just another kind of kick to the nuts thing here. It's almost like when we got rid of Carlos Santana and J.P. Crawford and all them, and then you look at their stats, they were going off.
Dude,
Jorge
Carlos Santana, I
Alvaro,
think he was an all-star. Was
he
it
was,
last year
yeah,
or
he
the year
was in the
before?
home run derby, and
Yeah, he had like 30 home runs, and I'm like, why the fuck couldn't you do that with us last year? Like, we could have used that so
I
much.
think J.P. Crawford's playing pretty bad this year, but last year like he was
Like, he was good
decent.
defensively, and he was actually hitting. So that was like he was another prospect that was like, hey, this guy's the future, and he
Very
plays
good
for
in the
us for like,
field too. Like you're saying, he's a very good defender, young guy you could do something with. And I love, Didi Gregorius. Like I think Didi is the best, in my opinion. He's the best Philly this season so far. Like Reese is right there with him, but I think Didi has been every time you watch him bat, the guy looks great up there. And then defensively, he can be, hit or miss. But I think Didi has been very consistent.
yeah, I think he's a
I love
good.
him.
I like that he's in that spot because again, I don't think he needs to be in that role. Sort of like McCutcheon, like they don't need to be the best player on the team.
Exactly.
They just need to be decent support players and role guys, like who can just facilitate a little bit, get on base, play decent defense. Like,
Just somebody that can
dude,
hold it down. Like
yeah,
that's it.
you're not asking too much of these guys, but yeah, it's gonna be a tough season. I mean, so we'll wrap up the show. So, what is your final prediction? How many wins do you think this Philly team today, assuming they don't make any blockbuster trades? How many wins do you think they get?
That they don't make any blockbuster. I mean, I'm gonna hope they figure it out. And I'm gonna hope they start playing a little better against the division. It's just tough because the division, like, it's like the same thing for every team in this division, where it's like if they figure it out, they can kind of take it.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say 87 wins this year.
Really,
I'm gonna say
my
87.
preseason prediction, I think I said like 88 or 89. It was one of those two.
I would like
And
that, but
yeah, and like that was before, like that was like the first week when we were on that hot streak where we started off and we were like looking amazing. And now it's just like it's really giving me like 2016, 2017 vibes where I'm just like, I think we can maybe be decent, but
yeah.
it's not looking great because there's so many glaring issues, and you're just kind of like, yeah, this is not gonna work.
Yeah, it sort of feels like it's like give or take with this team. Like you get a series, you take a series, you give a series, you take a series. It's never like the Phillies are hot. They're taking two series back to back. Like they started like that, but ever since then, it's just kind of been like you know we're winning one games out of game series. We're winning one game out of every four games now. It's kind of like they got to figure it out type of deal, but who knows? Honestly.
Yeah, like yesterday, I was watching that game. I legit was watching it, and then there was like the second or third inning, and we were already down like 6-1 or something.
It was tough.
I was like, bet I got some shit to do. I closed my computer and just fucking left, and I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to watch because it was infuriating. And then I'm just getting the updates. It's like Nolan Arenado hits a home run.
It's
Yadier
just
Molina
it
hits
gets worse
another
and
home
worse.
run.
Well, yesterday was the worst because I had it on in my living room, and it's just like I walk away and I hear home run Yadier Molina, and I'm like, damn. And then I'm like, well, whatever, and I go back to what I'm doing. And I hear another home run. I'm like, dude, what the hell is going on? And then like I leave again the next inning, it's like a home run, and then another home run right after Yadier Molina again. I'm like, they went back to back twice. Like I thought it was the replay of the first one. I'm like they're getting smoked out of it, and just seeing Matt Moore's like face just pisses me off at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
get
just
you and
like
your eyebrows out of here, bro. Like, you're done. You're not
like
great.
between him, Chase Anderson, and Velasquez, they make one competent pitcher. But
Yeah, and
separately,
that'll
it's
give you
like
3 to 4 innings. And Chase Anderson really hasn't bothered me much. A five,
yeah,
the
like
number five
his
starter just
role,
never.
I'm good with. Yeah,
Yeah, the number five guy never really because what I feel like a number four and a five guy will you should expect is like give me every night that you're in there like give me a night to compete, but if it goes south it goes south, but if it's going south every game you suck. Matt Moore sucks. Like Chase Anderson at least has kept some of these games close that he's in. Matt Moore every what was it, 3 games he's been in.
like a 9 ERA.
all 3 games he's been atrocious. Like, I get it, you need a lefty. There might not be a lot of lefties available,
But there's got
but
to be somebody, man. Like
like, there's
I
got to be
refuse to believe that we don't have the capability of getting a solid left-handed
there's
pitcher.
got to be somebody in the league. Give me a AAA guy that looks okay. Like, give me, if you gotta overpay to get somebody, like, he doesn't have to be a bona fide guy at this point. Give me somebody that's in the AAA that's a lefty that pitches
Hmm.
has been decent, or give me a guy on free agents who's 38 years old. Like, like
Yeah, at this point, I just want somebody who's gonna give me like 3 to 4 innings
of
with about
solid
three to
pitching.
four runs, and I'm okay with that. I'll
Just
deal
give
with
me a
that
chance
as
to
like a
compete. That's all I would want.
yeah, exactly. Like, but it can't be giving up 6 and 7 runs, dude. It's just like
And just looking as bad as he's looked, like, he gets like one inning in there where you're just like, all right, like, his stuff looks like it's on, and then, like, he's throwing a wild pitch. What was it? He got pulled out yesterday, throwing a
yeah,
wild pitch to the pitcher or something that was up the bat. Like,
yeah. I think he threw it. Yeah, yeah. I think it was to the pitcher, and it was
and it's
awful.
like yesterday, I kind of had high hopes because it's like, you know, the Cardinals pitcher looked atrocious.
Mhm.
Like, he looked like he was more off than I've ever seen a pitcher in a
Exactly.
while. Like, he was throwing wild pitches everywhere and walking
We should have
everybody.
capitalized. We had the opportunity. It was like bases loaded, 2 outs.
Dude, this team
Um,
with runners in scoring position, unless it's Alec Bohm up, has been so
that's
like
another thing, man. It feels like the last decade of Phillies teams, we can't hit when guys are on base. I don't know what it is, but it's like every time somebody's on like second or third, most teams would say like, we're gonna get at least a run here. I literally say, I guarantee we get no runs here because they're so bad.
it's almost like you know what's gonna happen. It's so predictable at this point. Like,
Like
nobody
sad.
really
It's just like,
executes
how
on
is
this
this
team.
every year?
And it's like you get like a Bryce Harper, big moment every now and then when it's happening, or
Mhm.
JT. Like, the guys that should do it are doing it, but like, unless it's one of those top 3 or 4 guys, you're getting nothing. You're literally getting nothing out of it. Like, if Roman Quinn's up the bat with no outs and bases loaded, I'm more feeling like it's going to end with a strikeout or a double play than anything. And it's like, you're hitting under 50. So think of it like this: like, in 10 at bats, you have less than half a chance to get one hit out of all those 10 at bats. That is atrocious. Like, you
Yeah.
have less than half of a chance to even get one hit in 10 at bats. That is so bad. That should not be in the major leagues. To me, that's embarrassing that they keep putting him out there.
Yeah, so obviously we both feel very strongly about this team and we think that they have high expectations. But if they can reach those expectations, I think we're both kind of on the fence, kind of we'll play it by ear. We're definitely we're still tuning in. We're not giving up yet, but I'm aggravated, but I feel like something's gonna come out. Like I feel like something's gonna happen. Like they're gonna figure it out. I think again, we just can't have you implode. We can't have that.
If they can bring me in a center fielder and the bullpen can stay
Mhm.
manageable, this team can compete with the Braves, the Nationals. I think in my opinion, I don't even think it's going to be a 3-team race. Like, I think it's going to be everybody besides the Marlins, and they're not going to be far behind. Like, I think everybody's going to be competing in this
Yeah,
division. I
exactly.
think the Mets are a lot better than a lot of people are writing them in
Yeah,
to be. I think the Mets are, the Mets are going to Met. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They're
yeah.
gonna
That
they're
is
gonna
yeah.
they're gonna bring in their bullpen pitchers and screw games up, but I think the Mets with Lindor, they can compete. They can be a first or second place team. I think the Braves are going to compete for a while. They always seem to be kind of up there. And, the Nationals, like we were saying, they just won the World Series not long ago, obviously. So the Nationals still have, these guys, Juan Soto, Max Scherzer, like, these guys aren't
Mhm.
aren't all of a sudden gone, and they're still, elite players. So I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a tough run to make the playoffs. I think it's going to be one of those years this year, unless we really take off. We'll have a good season, but not a playoff season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be tough, but we're here to tune in. We're excited. Um, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. This will be the first episode of the baseball edition of Bringing the Heat, and yeah, I'm looking forward to many future episodes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I guess we'll see how the season goes, and hopefully, if we do another one, you know what I mean, it'll be a lot more of an excitement part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, the Phillies are hot. We finally got a nice center fielder. We got rid of Matt Moore and his eyebrows, and Cornelius Randolph is still over in Australia. So I guess
Exactly. Yeah. Cornelius
you know,
Randolph stay in Australia. We're gonna figure out our
well,
problems here.
unless you hit better than if you're hitting above 50, you know what I mean. Bring him over, give him a shot. So
Yeah. Do you know how to hold a bat? You're in because you win.
like a
But
newborn out the womb. It's like if she can swing her arms around at a pretty
yeah,
decent pretty decent speed, let's give her a shot at this point.
exactly. But all right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man.